Up until now, we've used the spline tools to draw and manipulate splines, and we've also used the primitive spline objects. Now let's look how we would use some other objects to create complex shapes. So let's start with a primitive spline. We're going to use a rectangle. I'm just going to change the size to be 9 by 38, quite small. I'm going to put it on the XZ plane, so it just lies flat, pointing up at the Y. Let's just zoom in on that and press S to frame up as well. So I want to turn this into a plus symbol with a bit of rounding. And of course you can add rounding within the spline primitive here, but we're going to do it a different way. We're going to make this rectangle editable. So we can press C on the keyboard, or you can press this button here, and it's converted it from a parametric spline to a regular spline. So now we have access to all the points. If we go into point mode, we can press Command A, and that will select them all. And if we right click in the viewport and we go down to this tool called chamfer. So what we can do is interactively, if we just click and drag in the viewport, we can change the radius, or we can come in here and key in a numerical value. So 2, for example. To form a plus, we're going to duplicate this and rotate it. So we'll just come into our object manager and hold down Command and just drag out a copy. And you can see that plus. If we let go, it's going to give us another rectangle. So now we want to manipulate the whole spline. So we're going to go back into model mode here and choose the rotate tool, and we'll get a gizmo. And if we hold down shift, we're going to snap our units to increments of 10. So we just want to move it 90. You can go either way. So now we have the makings of our plus symbol. We want to combine these shapes, so it's one spline, but we don't want to have this middle square here. So how would we do that? Well, we can come over to our tools here, and we can use a generator called a spline mask. And with this, it needs to have the objects as a child, as most generators do. So we'll just drop those inside. What we want to do is come into the spline mask attributes, and we want to make sure that the plane or axis was what we created our rectangle on. So I'm just going to change that to XZ. And now in the union mode, you can see that a plus has been created. If we come back, you can even create a cap, and then you can render that. If we undo that, you can see that we have this spline mask, which it's still live, but if we wanted to take this further, we could press C on the keyboard and turn that now into a spline and select our points. So we could then use our live selection tool and choose these points. And then maybe we want to chamfer again, but we could change the mode to be flat this time and then scale this out. And now you see we're creating a completely unique shape. So as you can see, we can quickly build complex shapes using the spline mask object. And we've learned another method of manipulating splines with the chamfer tool.